as an exercise, let's take a look at the head coaches that have been hired under Jimmy Haslam. Kevin Stefanski, the last one, was a guy that was unproven and had some early success. 8 wins last 2 years. The reason he's no longer here, but you see his record. Freddie Kitchens, unproven, didn't work. Hugh Jackson, didn't work. Mike Pettin, a guy that hadn't been a head coach before, 10-22. Rob Chudzinski lasted 1 year. Combined record 68, 136, and 1. 45 of those 68 wins are under Kevin Stefanski. Of the coaches that have been hired under Jimmy Haslam, only Hugh Jackson had previous head coaching experience, and it was one season he was 8-8. So I look at that because, everybody's like, well, you got to find the next young up and they've been trying to do that and it hasn't worked.
Right.
You can't. Sometimes you can't find great in a coaching cycle. Find a guy that can be a good head coach. The other thing I think when I look at that, there's just not the type of structure to this organization that there needs to be if you're going to bring in a guy that hasn't even been a coordinator to come in and have success. It just does. You've got to have things in place for said guy, brilliant offensive mind, to be successful.
Yeah, there's no doubt. That's what I think Grant Udinsky and I think Nate Scheelhaus are weighing, right? Like, it's really cool to have a team come after you with the rare opportunity to be a head coach. And you can understand, obviously, that being a head coach gives you a whole level of fiscal comfortability than you could ever imagine, right? You get that contract paid out pretty much no matter what, as long as you just coach the team. And that is special. That's unique. Not many guys get to be head coaches, but also some guys who are big up-and-comers, like both of those two who are seriously interested in this job and the Browns interested in them, is that you can have a bad run here and never be found again. You can have that and you're out of the league, or you're not getting taken seriously for other jobs and other position coaches or coordinators. So it's a calculated risk, right, for them and for the Browns. And obviously, like you said, I think the closest cross comparison is Sean McVay. But if you go back and look at Sean McVay, he was getting the second year of Jared Goff. So he was trying to reshape Jared Goff after a tough rookie year, but again, an elite selection in the draft, first pick overall, a really good running back in Todd Gurley, an offensive line that they pieced together and did a great job, and some nice wide receiver weapons. So, like, he's not arriving. Now, could they make some moves this offseason? Sure, and sign some people and make some trades and certainly improve upon what the baseline of this offense is. But you're not stepping into, like, hey, this thing is ready to ignite. It just needs somebody to direct the circus, right? I think that's fair to say that's not where they're at right now. And you, like I said at the beginning, you're selling a vision of what that could be at some point. So that's the difficult part. But I'm with you on experienced head coaches. And I know they're trying, right? They tried to get Mike McDaniel in to try to see if he'd be serious about it. They tried to get, John Harbaugh in to interview him, and he wouldn't come in. I think they are trying. Interest is a two-way street, and they can only go so far with this. So we'll see. Maybe they do have the opportunity over the weekend into early next week to get Sean McDermott to come in and interview. I'm not sure about that, but ultimately, I think they are trying. I don't think they're just trying to chase these younger coordinator or up-and-coming types like as the only way they want to go about it. I think they like them, but I think it's again, those guys have to want to come in and want to interview. And I think it's fair to say that the jobs that have been selected have been better opportunities for those guys. And I certainly understand Mike McDaniel, and he's still interviewing though, as well, still trying to, have his name in some head coaching stuff, but even laying back as like a Chargers working with Justin Herbert, you can understand where he's coming from. So I think the Browns are trying. I think that this is a really hard cycle for them because of the place of their offense and some of the perception around Kevin Stefanski, fair or unfair, for them to do exactly what they wanted to do with this coaching search. And it might lead them to take Schwartz. I don't know. We'll see about that. Jim Schwartz does have head coaching experience, but as we all know, like 29-51 with the Lions team that had Stafford and it had, Calvin Johnson and Ndamukong Suh. And you can we could pick anybody's head coaching job apart. We don't need to do that necessarily. But I just think that, I think they want to explore all of their options that will meet with them, spend time with them. They know who Jim is. If they don't feel comfortable or those guys don't reciprocate the interest, they might be willing to go to Jim and offer him the job. So that feels like where it's headed, which might be disappointing
Right.
to some people.
Uh,
I understand, but this is not in a place right now where they're going to get the most appealing one. The thing that they could do is have another great draft like they did last year, get a quarterback that's a bit more solid in terms of the future. Then you start to see if you do make a change in a couple of years. Nobody wants to talk about hiring a coach you're going to fire or whatever, but you just have to have your job be more appealing. And they're in a cycle where the job isn't more appealing than some, and even teams I think that is more appealing than, which is the Raiders. They don't, the Browns don't have the first pick in the draft, so that's not a thing that you can sell. That you get to come in and work with a Fernando Mendoza possibly. So it's really the teams that are left: the Raiders, Cardinals, Browns. Other than the teams who started late, Buffalo and Pittsburgh. I'm talking really the original teams that let their coaches go. It's not hard to see why all three of them are still searching.
Yeah, that's fair. And the other thing to remember about Jim Schwartz, Matthew Stafford was a rookie. They were coming off of 0-16. He did have a pretty good. He had a pretty good run, and then got fired. Where they went, they won. It was bad season, good season, and then another dip, and that's when he ended up getting let go.